What's up, you guys? Josh out here in Singapore, and as always, thank you so much for joining me on the Night Owl podcast. Don't ask me. I have no idea what happened to my throat just now, but it felt kind of, I don't know, strange. But thank you once again. Joining me on this Night Owl podcast has been a hell of a journey. I enjoy every piece of this process. And sometimes, I kind of hang back and wait, and I collect a bunch of topics to talk about, and then I kind of like let loose and record 10, 15 in a day. Mostly because I'm kind of in that space where I want to speak and I want to explain and I understand and I feel good about the message that I'm giving. So bear with me as I go through some of these episodes because I feel like there's been a lot shifting this year already, and it's not even the end of January, but I feel pretty big about this. So without further ado, I want to kind of get into it. Today, I've been thinking a lot about the conversations that I feel are more prevalent in my clients, in the people around me, in just the way people speak. And I think it's really, really important that we pay attention to the words that we use. I want to focus on the phrase that you make me feel. Now, I know there's a brilliant song, You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman and everything, and it sounds great, but the point is, no one can make you feel anything. No one can force you to feel anything because they could try and force you to feel something else entirely. But the point being that you feel because it is natural for you. It is how your spirit actually feels, right? Somebody could flaunt a bunch of really awesome clothes in front of you, and some people would get very, very excited to see the clothes, and some people would get very down, dejected, depressed because maybe they can't afford that kind of lifestyle yet and they feel really badly about it, so they might not have the same reaction. So the point is, every piece of information out there in the world can have a negative or positive effect on you just depending on where your mindset is, what's going on in your life right now, how you feel about certain things. So this is why they're called triggers. Some of them trigger you, some of them don't do anything to you at all. What may be a trigger to you may not be a trigger to somebody else. So this is why I want to focus on the fact that we say, you make me feel. You make me feel about all these things, right? Something that I teach to all of my clients is for you to speak in as plain a language as possible. So if somebody's upsetting you, I want you to say, I feel this when this happens. I feel. I don't want you to say, you make me feel, because then the other person feels threatened. The other person feels like you're accusing them of something, like you did something on purpose. Now, I've had a couple of those conversations myself recently, and that's part of the reason that I wanted to bring this up. No one can make you feel anything. If I do something, it is because it makes me feel good, or it's me avoiding pain. It's something that I need to do for myself. Now, how you take that action is entirely up to you, and it's based on all of your, predecessors, almost all of the experiences you've had up until this point, all of the ways that other people have treated you. And yes, we have that preconceived notion that somebody might be up to something, right? It is our nervous system telling us, hey, you know what? Stay away from this. Be careful of that. Watch out for this. I've seen these things before, and it usually does not end well. Now, in this instance, it was a situation where I didn't feel comfortable speaking up about the struggles that I was going through because I was trying to be strong for the other person. Now, when the other person saw me upset and in a corner somewhere, they asked, hey, what's going on? Why are you, what's wrong with your face? Why is your face like that? And I had no choice but to kind of blurt out something that was not the reason at all. I was trying to deflect, and I gave him some other reason. And of course, he caught on. He was like, you know what? I can't believe you just said that, because now you know that I'm going to have a really, really adverse reaction to this, and it's going to affect me for a while because you said it in such a way that it's almost like I am a burden on you. I am more than you can handle, and you're struggling because you have to handle me. And I feel bad about that now. And now, you know what? I just don't feel like talking to you. And I was like, oh my God, no, that's not what I meant at all. I was trying to explain something and did not come out well. Another thing I tell all of my clients is just say it the way it's said. Sometimes we try really hard to find the perfect way to say something, and it doesn't come out that way at all. It comes out all wrong, all the wrong words that might trigger the other person. They're going to take some other meaning out of it, and then you're left to explain yourself. But the point is, those are the difficult conversations. You got to say it the way you feel it so you can understand how they perceive things, how they understand things, and then you kind of, figure it out in the middle. So when I said this comment, they got very upset. They were very offended. And I suddenly was like, oh shit, you know what? No, that's not what I meant at all. And I had to go back and explain. But push come to shove, I eventually had to break down and tell them what actually was bothering me. It was a finance issue. And I was not comfortable at all, because when have I ever had a chance to talk about finance in any one of my relationships where it didn't end up in being shamed for not being able to handle it myself, where it didn't end up being that I was a burden now for asking for help. And I just felt really, really small and inconsequential and alone, because I didn't know how to manage this one situation. So I told him, he made me feel. And then he told me, I made him feel. And then I was thinking, wow, you know what? That's all wrong. No one can make me feel anything. I take that piece of information and it becomes either a good piece of information or a bad piece of information depending on where I am in life and what's going on at the moment and how I have lived up to this date, what experiences have shaped and molded me. So I want to kind of challenge that a little bit. I would love to challenge all of you guys to really think about the way you say things. When you're in an argument, when you're having a discussion, when you're upset with somebody, what is it that you end up saying? You can't tell them, you make me feel, because obviously their intention is not to make you feel anything, is not to make you feel badly or feel ashamed or feel guilty. Now, okay, on occasion you have a parent telling off a child, and yes, they're looking for guilt out of the child, and they're going to push, nag until they get that reaction, but it's mostly because they want remorse from the child for maybe having done a mistake. But generally speaking, when I do something, it's for me. It's not meant to be an adverse reaction to you. Now, there are those people who will try and manipulate situations because they want a specific reaction. People who feign sickness because they want your pity, or they look for any excuse not to be somewhere and then make up all kinds of reasons for why they couldn't make. Like there are people who manipulate situations. For generally speaking, simple-minded people, everyday happy people, they aren't doing anything against the other person. They're doing it for themselves. But the way you perceive it is very important. And if you don't speak up and say, hey, when you do this, it upsets me, right? And then explain why it upsets you, then I have no idea whether I should change my behavior or not. It's very, very simple. I remember when I was very young and my brothers and I would get into a tussle. Like we fought all the time. My brother's younger than me. But I remember at a very young age even, I recognized when my youngest brother would get upset, he would start gritting his teeth. I think I've mentioned this before. But the minute he starts to grit his teeth, I assume he's pissed off at me. In recent times, when we're a little bit more mature sometimes, I still do slam the phone and hang up on him. But usually when I have a mature adult conversation with him, and I can hear him grit his teeth through the phone, right? I will call him on and be like, you know what? I don't even know if I can talk to you right now because you're gritting your teeth. I can tell already that you're pissed off. And he will try his best to be as calm as possible and explain to me, no, yes, I'm gritting my teeth, but it's not specifically at you. I'm frustrated at the situation and I don't know what else to do. So here I am. I can't beat you up. I can't throw anything. I can't, jerk a knot in the person that's hurting you or anything. I'm trying to figure out what it is that I can offer, what it is that I can support you with. And unfortunately right now, I can't do anything but grit my teeth, and that makes me feel better. So I got to ask the question. I got to figure it out. I got to understand. So when I have these moments where I recognize the other person is in distress because I've seen distress in other people before, or maybe I know them so well that I know what distress for them specifically looks like, I'm going to assume usually that it's my fault. Until, of course, I go up to him, ask him, and say, hey, are you upset with me? Is there something I can do? And we clear up the misunderstanding. But for the most part, I need to remember that they're doing whatever it is they need to do for themselves. I have a distinct aversion to people who like to go within themselves and be quiet. And it's not because I don't want them to have their own space and be quiet. It's like I can tell they're upset and they're avoiding me now, and I can't tell if I'm the one they're avoiding because they're upset or if they're just avoiding everyone altogether because they just need time and space and quiet to kind of figure things out. And so that's something that upsets me. But I also know that even though I tell them these things and say, hey, when you ignore me, it hurts my feelings, a lot of times they won't see it as they're ignoring me. They won't see it as, oh, you know what, she's in the room and she wants affection or attention or conversation or whatever, and I'm over here being quiet because I need quiet and space and there's just a lot going on. I just don't want to talk to anybody. A lot of times just to ask them the question will piss them off. So this is why I want to really pay attention to the reasons for why we say the things that we say. Yes, it will feel like the other person is doing something to us, but generally speaking, they aren't. They're doing for themselves. And when we say things like, you make me feel, it comes out as an accusation, and most people will get very, very offended, and they suddenly go into defense mode where they're trying to either justify why they are the way they are, or if they are really, really hurt and feel like they have nowhere else to go, they will start to attack you instead. This is where all those insults come out and those, derogatory terms and name calling and all that stuff comes out. I will tell you this. I have never in my life been spoken to in such a manner where somebody uses the F word or calls me an asshole or tells me I'm a bitch or any of those things, because I generally don't think that I'm a bitch, and I have tried to be very, very agreeable, and I don't like getting into confrontations. But when those things happen, I have to take it with a grain of salt because I need to realize that that person, that's the kind of language they use in general. And they use it on themselves as well as on other people. But even though it hurts me and affects me, I need to kind of wade through all of those flowery words that they're using and figure out what exactly that they're telling me. And that takes a level of maturity. I remember a time where I didn't feel that way. And the minute somebody called me a name, well, guess what? My name calling starts as well. And it's going to be a pissing match about who can use the best derogatory language to be able to put the other person down. And that's how I win. You know, I say something so terrible that suddenly you don't want to talk to me anymore. And you know what? See, I trumped you. I got you. I shut you up. I remember when that backfired once. I remember I was in college and a friend of mine, a really great friend of mine, was just in an argument with me about something. I don't even remember what the fight was about, but I remember what I said. I was so pissed off. I said, you know what? Fuck you and your mama too. And I'd never said that before in my life, and I felt really, really stupid the minute it came out of my mouth. But guess what? He was so offended he stopped speaking to me for months. And we went to the same school and we saw each other every day. And it was hard on me and it was definitely punishment. But I realized then that I can't go on the offense when someone's trying to defend themselves or if they're on the offense already. I can't go into, attack mode. That's not going to help anything. It's just going to make things worse. So this is why I'm telling you, I think it's really important that we watch the things that we say and the way that we say them. I think it's more important that we're honest with the things that we say. If I say you make me feel, that's wrong. That's false already. You can't make me feel anything. You can't make me feel happy. You can't make me feel sad. You can say things that will trigger an emotion in me, but that's me. That's me responding. It's not you giving this piece of information to me and telling me this is the output it has to have. That's not how that works. So I think that we really need to pay attention to the words that we use and the intentions with which we say them and whether it's actually true or not. Because trust me, no one can make you feel anything. They can push you. They can bully you. They can try. Sometimes it has an adverse effect. Sometimes it has like a complete opposite reaction than they were expecting. A lot of times people will try and insult me, and if I'm not really attached to that person, I really don't care, they're not a very big deal in my life or whatever. If they start insulting me, I tend to laugh in their face, and that's not the reaction they were going for. So obviously they can't make me feel anything. So please, do me a favor, check the words that you use, check the intentions with which you say them, check and see if what you're saying is actually the truth. Because when you tell the truth, you have more clear lines of communication. You can get to the bottom of something very, very fast instead of beating around the bush and then arguing semantics about the words they use and why are they pulling, old memories up and trying to beat you up with it or trying to prove a point by, pulling up old problems that you've had before. This is why we get lost in the conversation. But it doesn't have to be that way. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any questions, of course, please DM me. I would love to have a conversation with you. But in the meantime, do your best to be honest. Do your best to be as simple and as plain and as clear as possible. Because that's where we really get to the bottom of any kind of problem or communication issue. So remember, no one can make you feel anything. But you do have a response system and you can tell them, hey, you did this and I felt this as a result. And then you can see how you can adjust it from there. All right, you guys, I love you and I'll catch you again soon. Bye.